Hello and welcome viewers. This video's topic is what are the elements of a crime? In other words, we can say in the absence of these, one cannot commit a crime. If you have not understood what is a crime, you can refer the concept on crime video in the playlist. So the two most important elements of a crime are, first one is mens rea, which means guilty mind, and the second is Actus Reus, which means any physical event. We will see these two in brief. And now apart from these, we need a human being to cause the event, and another, we need injury caused by the first human being to the other human being. You can also make a chart mentioning these. Now, let's talk about the first element, that is human being. In the first element, we must keep 3 points in our mind. First, the act must be committed or omitted by a human being. Second, he or she must be under certain legal obligation. And the third, he or she should be capable of being punished. For example, a child can commit a crime, but we cannot punish a child as he is immature both physically and mentally and does not have rational thinking. The second element is mens rea. There are various debates and discussion on this. However, we will try to understand this in brief. Mens rea is a Latin term which stands for guilty mind. If we look at the principle of English jurisprudence, we find a Latin sentence that is actus non facit reum nisi mens sit rea, which means the act is not culpable unless the mind is guilty. According to the general rule, every crime requires a mental element. In other words, we can say that a person is not criminally liable for a crime unless he intends to cause, foresees that he will probably cause, or at the lowest, foresees that he may cause the elements which constitute the crime. However, mens rea is nowhere mentioned in the BNS, but expressions such as with intent, recklessly, lawfully, dishonest means the same. We will try to understand this concept from an example. Section 303, subsection 1 of BNS says, whoever intending to take dishonestly any movable property out of the possession of any person without that person's consent moves that property in order to such taking is said to commit theft. You can see the words intending to take dishonestly. These words shows guilty mind of the person involved. Now, let's try to understand few important terms like intention, transferred intention, motive and knowledge. Intention. It means when a person have a fixed purpose to reach a desired objectives. In the previous example of theft, we have seen that person is dishonestly moving someone's property. Here the person's intention is to keep the property of the other without that person's consent. Now let's come to motive. It helps to form an intention. Sometimes a person intended to execute a crime in a particular manner, but that does not happen. However, it happens in another way. This is known as transferred intention. For example, A intends to kill B by poisoning. A places a glass of milk with the poison on the table of B, knowing that at the time of going to bed, B takes glass of milk. On that fateful night, instead of B, C enters the bedroom of B and takes the glass of milk and dies in the consequences. A is liable for the killing of C under the principle of transferred intention. The last is knowledge. It is the awareness of the person of his act and the consequence of his act. However, there is difference between knowledge and intention. Say, a mother jumped into a well along with her child in her arms to save herself and her child from the cruelty of her husband. The child dies, but the mother survives. The act of the mother is culpable homicide. She might not have intended to cause the death of the child, but as a person having prudent mind, which law assumes every person to have, she ought to have known that person jumping into the well with the child was likely to cause the death of the child. Now, let's come to the third element, that is Actus Reus, which means physical event. According to Kenny, it is such result of human conduct as the law seeks to prevent. Basically, such human conduct may consist of acts of commission as well as acts of omission. The act done or omitted to be done must be an act forbidden or commanded by some statute law, otherwise it may not constitute a crime. Suppose an executioner hangs a condemned prisoner with the intention of hanging him. Here, all the three elements obviously are present, yet he would not committing a crime because he is acting in accordance with the law enjoining him to act. Now the last is injury to human being. This means injury to another human being should be illegally caused to any person in body, mind, reputation or property. So here the injury is not restricted only to the body, but it is also extended to the mind, the reputation of a person or the property of a person. Sometimes by a harmful conduct, no injury is caused to another human being. Yet, the act may be held liable as a crime because in such a case, harm is caused to the society at large, like all the public offences, especially offence against the state, like treason, sedition, are instances of such harms.